have joined the bank, okay, I want to understand the industry trends, the regulations, okay.
Yes.
Anyone from like product or policy or sales department, how they can be updated. Definitely like times and all.
Hmm.
But then do you suggest any newsletter or anything? How I can be updated? Because we have to do our work
Hmm.
also and stay updated for the rules and regulation also. So as a to because to stand out the different person in the team, I have to be updated about the rules, regulation, trends, pattern in the market. So what is the suggestion from you, sir?
See, here there are multiple ways to do it. First important thing is internal that you get. Most likely, the compliance teams in organizations stay aware of all the trends and changing. Majority of the time, as a bank, you are not just only a banker, you are doing a lot of things. In a bank, it's like an umbrella organization. So you are doing wholesale, you are doing retail, right? So you are doing various other products, including broking, and as you said, depending on the size of the bank, depending on the overall structure. So keeping in touch with them has to have in a particular manner. Now, first stage would be the internal compliance team. They should ideally have all these informations in place. And most importantly, they should be circulated. There are
Circulate.
various scenarios, yeah, various scenarios that I myself come across that these are not circulated. Or if they are circulated, they are only circulated to that department that has that requirement. So let's say if it is related to finance, it will go only to finance. Or
Hmm.
if it is about KYC or a policy level, it will go to RBI's circular to policy. What happens in this case is certain environments are left out, like
Hmm.
risk or credit or any. So here there has to be a synergy. That
Hmm.
is, if compliance is sending certain alerts, it should go to each and every department of the organization critical to that role, not just the maker of that role, including the checker of that role also.
Hmm. So
So
kind of
that
a
is the
global mailer or the policies or any workline platform available from the organization. So person has to refer that policy, refer the global mail. So like we have a habit, even I have seen the juniors just delete global mail. There is a unique common email ID, they just delete. But then if you want to be updated, you want to know
yeah,
each and everything, you should read that mail. What is this mail meant to be? Why? What is the purpose?
absolutely.
That way you will understand the complete organization structure, policies, and the development.
Because many times in one of the one of my old job in the bank, I
Hmm.
found it really difficult to navigate because whom to ask, what to ask, who does what. It was not very clear.
It's
It
difficult,
was
right?
not very clear. Yeah, it's very difficult, especially if your organization size is very big and you need to know whom to approach, whom not to approach, right? Majority of the time, this is the biggest problem and how it is being done. So the roles are also very diverse. So your KYC part in the policy is handled by two different teams. So if you ask one team, this is I am not doing, that is one is. So there is a lot of gaps over here. But the
Coordination is
best
not.
way, yes, yes. And but the best way to do it is within the organization at the compliance. So one owner of the information or repository should have it to share it appropriately with everyone. That is the way to look at it. Because
Right.
these changes are critical. These changes are critical because it's like this gold loans, what is happening today in the market. There are two institutions who are in the media currently who are being questioned for that, who are being
Okay.
questioned on gold loan.
Hmm.
But if anyone ordinarily a liabilities or somebody in the fraud risk environment is asked about what is the status, he would not know what is the gold loan. I don't handle the product, so I am not aware.
Correct.
A, a risk manager has to be aware because this is what we learned in the good old days. In my time, I'll give you
Hmm.
one small example.
Yes, sir.
I was handling payment products.
Hmm.
My second role in the banking was with as you are also been a part of that great institution, ICICI Bank. I was also a part of that. So that time, uh, I was in the part of the payment products unit. So on one fine day, I will get in my inbox a credit card fraud case that I have to investigate, whether it is at an application fraud level, whether it is at a transaction level, or whether fraudulent transaction, all that part was. And I will work on that. Next day, I would probably get a liabilities or a CASA fraud case where a KYC is of a question or something. The third day or at the end of the week, I will be put on for bill discounting, letter of credit fraud. So that will be my third case. So, different. So what has happened for in my case is I learned all the holistic approach. And I realized, hey, if there is a LC fraud happening, then the CASA account should be monitored properly. LCBD may you have to monitor the liabilities account. But today when I see everybody is given a silos, a liability person will only do liability. A commercial vehicle will do only commercial. They don't know what the left and the right is doing. And that is a very big disadvantage, I find.
Okay.
Very big disadvantage. Because you need to know the cycle to know how the things. Right. So that is what we learned in ICICI in my time. That is why we are much better to look at it. अगर retail में अगर ऐसा हुआ है, this type of fraud has happened, then its impact can be felt on the corporate side because they also have a corporate relationship with us. So where are the risk parameters over there? You start looking at those environments because it cannot work in isolation. Just because something happened in retail, nothing will happen in corporate. No, it doesn't work that way. Or if something happened in corporate will not happen in retail. No. There will always be ripple effects flowing somewhere.
So risk assessment must be done. With the learning, we should do the risk assessment for all other segments also. This is what you are saying. Correct.
This is exactly what RBI in their YH Malegam committee recommendations have also said, that the you will look at the borrower not just at that entity or that environment that you have given the loan or lending to. You will look it as a group as a whole. Now, why are they saying like this? If I start saying my risk is on this entity or only this entity, but I will not look at the other umbrella organization or the holding company or any other company, am I not depriving of myself only of knowing a lot of things in the same environment? And tomorrow, if something goes wrong, how do we analyze it? Because there could have been key red flags that were visible, which probably if I would have looked at it, I would have picked it up. Now, because I have chosen not to look at it, I have a bigger problem on my hands to.
Understood.
Yes. So this is why you will need to look at all parameters. And this is something that we learned in those days, probably in ICICI, and which was a very great learner. They taught us all these things, how to look at all the parameters. Although I may be a payment product, I also did letter of credit and bill discounting investigations, which were a part of the corporate segment. We were brought in after that. And that is why we became much more holistic investigators rather than product specific investigators.
Right, absolutely.
So this difference is very critical in the long run.
Actually. Correct. So, like my next question, when we are at a driving seat, okay, there are pressures comes, traffic and all. I'm giving very layman and practical example. Driver has to decide the life, on the highway. There are many drivers who is driving. It is completely their mindset, right? So, further back, I have heard many articles. I've seen recent articles. So many news are coming for the pressure, sales target, and all. So how the person, because the people who are joining the banking industry, they should not feel demotivated. So how they can approach the high pressure and balance out the things? What are the decision making strategies or approach they have to, if they adopt it from the beginning, so it would not feel them overloaded once they get a more responsibility? So what is your suggestion on that?
Okay, so after all these years, I've learned one thing very importantly, and that is keep a calm mind.
Hmm.
Majority of the time for these numbers and everything, even I used to do sales, and yes, you are right, there was a lot of pressure, but I still managed to, keep calm. That
Hmm.
is far more important because a disturbed mind leads to a lot of problems.
Correct.
So I would request most of these youngsters to first learn to stay calm in event of any problems that face you. See,
Hmm.
like you gave the example of driving. When you know that the car in front of you or the vehicle in front of you
Hmm.
is very jittery or it is
Hmm.
not properly functioning, what will you do? You will slow down your
Slow
car
down.
first, maintain an appropriate distance. You will gauge that situation and then give a lane changing sign and move out of it to do it. You do not need, just because somebody is on the front side, you need to crash into him, because
Hmm.
not only he will get hurt, you will get
Who
hurt
will
more.
get hurt? Right.
So you will have to learn to maintain that gap, that distance, and that can only be done by keeping a calm mind. I have learned that very much. Never get, second importantly, never write mails in anger. I have learned that also. कभी कभी long mails जब आते हैं and we say that oh my god this is not right, that is not right, ये मेरे साथ ऐसे क्यों हो रहा है, don't write anything at that moment. Don't write. I'll honestly tell this is what I actually do. Many times there are questions also you did not respond within the 24-hour TAT. Right?
सर लेकिन वो जो फेथ है ना,
I,
दैट मेक्स यू स्ट्रोंगर, यू बिकम अ डिफरेंट वर्जन इफ यू हैंडल टू डील विद इट. बट वो
yes,
यंगस्टर्स को वो प्रेशर नॉर्मल नहीं लगता, दे डोंट फाइंड इट. सो उन्हें समझना पड़ेगा दैट ओके, बी काम एंड टेक अ डिसीजन, गिव
take
योर
a decision.
अप्रोप्रिएट
No.
रिस्पॉन्स.
Yes. See, this is how we also did it. In my time, we had given an appropriate response. Where I'll tell you honestly, when the same example, I was supposed to sell a loan, I told my line manager very clearly, if I know that something is wrong, why should I give him a loan?
करेक्ट.
I would not be comfortable. Then he also came back. Okay, you don't want to give this person because your conscience is not saying it. Okay, can I give it to some other sales manager? I said, that will be your prerogative. I cannot hold you for that. I can only tell you what I can tell you about it. But later, then he came back and said, and this is the interesting part. I told him do it. So he came back after 2 days and said, okay, you still have some doubts on that case? Yes, I do have doubts. Okay, take this email, write it to him and do it. Now, if I have to think about it, I sat back and I started thinking when he was 2 days ago telling me that I'll give it to someone, was he testing me? Was he testing me whether I will give it to him or not? अगर
या.
इसका सेल्स फिगर मैंने उसको दे दिया तो इसका रिएक्शन क्या? I started thinking on
करेक्ट.
my own terms. Was he doing that? But I stood on my ground. He did not respond after that. And he also did not give it to other person. So that's where I learned that if you are convinced that something is really wrong, then you must. And if I have the time permits, I can share one small case over here.
श्योर सर.
This was very stressful case for me at that point of time. This case, I'll give you the timeline also. It was somewhere in 2012, about 12 years ago.
ओके.
This was in a corporate banking, and this case was very, very important because it was at that time we were supposed to give gross. It was a term loan with around credit, cash credit facility and various things. Head of the market intelligence at that time. Numerical value, credit has done the assessment, business has done the relationship building, everything was done. Let me be frank, this was done very interestingly. And then the case was put to me for a market intelligence review or integrity, reputational due diligence. There are different wordings you may use in a different level of organization. So I started with, we normally have a time frame of 10 to 12 working days, as we normally say. Like how in the retail you have na 40 to
हाँ.
48 hour TAT, 72-hour TAT, report आना चाहिए, decision making होना चाहिए, all
करेक्ट.
those. Similarly,
ऑल
in a
दोस.
corporate, it works a little differently. So, and we started the work on time, but the work was not getting because we were finding so much problems. Now, those
Observations.
problems were observations, yes, and we started to solve that observation. We found another next observation to solve that, and we started seeing a lot of cross holdings between companies which are questionable in nature, which do not form, which violate RBI guidelines of arm's length distance transactions, secondary factor like KYC, shell company. So it is not one small thing that we realized in this case. And most important, this was a listed entity. We questioned ourselves that if I, as a banker and a market intelligence person, can find so much, how come the listed entities and everyone is not finding it? So we started questioning ourselves कि हम सही कर रहे हैं कि गलत कर रहे हैं. And later we came out with a report which, as you know, as a fraud risk manager, which will always be debatable, questionable, and everybody loves to play, sorry to say, the devil's advocate. मैं उसकी जगह होता तो मैं भी यही करता. I said, please don't put yourself in somebody else's shoes, especially when you are as a decision maker. The moment you are bringing an emotion that I will be like this, the moment you bring an emotion into an investigation, even the
Forget your role.
genuine facts get distorted. Genuine facts. So don't bring that. And this case later went into so to and fro that finally it had to be brought into the credit committee's level. The credit committee had to do it, and they specifically asked me to make a presentation to them, and we explained it everything. Now came the question. Still, there is a debate that we should do it. 17 other consortium of bankers are doing it. Why are we not doing it? So I only said one thing. Don't you think we are much better positioned than them 17 bankers that we are not doing it?
Correct.
So if you look at it, everybody in the, I told this into the group also, that why are we being so eternal optimist? Do you really feel that nothing can go wrong? It is such a good company that nothing can go wrong? No, things can go wrong. I said yes. So let us have a little bit ounce of constructive pessimism than eternal optimism.
Right.
And
So you had a
actually
lot of
think about it.
pressure, the value what
Yes.
you mentioned. I think person like me, even at mid level, we don't get a how to express and all. But then you could reach till the committee level to present your views. You were there. You were standing on your views.
Yes.
So that is really,
Because
I mean,
the amount is 400 crores. It's 400 crores. It's not a
right.
personal loan
I
of
can
5 lakhs or 10
understand
lakhs.
the
The
amount of
value
pressure
is
you have.
high.
Right. I can imagine.
So finally we said it at that level. And but I'm sure most of it will be there, because when the question comes of growth and targets, no sides of both will let go easily. I have to protect the institution's risk, whereas somebody has to protect the institution revenue. So we were at such a position, and we have to agree either one will win and one will lose. This is the
Right.
fact of life. And there can never be a middle path here. I'm going to be honest here for all those people who are listening, that in such environments,
Yes or
there
no?
can never be a middle. Yes
Right.
or no, there is no gray area.
Correct.
So finally, I laid down the thing that if I am wrong, I am ready to put in my papers if I am wrong. So some people took it a little bit seriously at that point, because that was my last, I had reached my uh, point,
Right.
point of no
So
return.
what a learning I could get it here, when you are right, you have to have your pointers. Why you are
Yes,
saying no or yes to your decision? I think because since we have worked for an organization, we understand. But the freshers, they from inside they know how to say no for any kind of thing, okay, for work or file or mail or anything, but they don't know how to express no. So I think what
correct.
learning I got from your this case is that you have to make a key pointers, or the
Yes,
validate points. what are the critical point, how it will affect the business, what is the organization risk and all. That way you can put your point clearly. You need to write it down in a pen and paper and mailbox. Just
Yes,
by
properly, because
having a
you have to put it.
verbal discussion, it won't help you. So this is a
Because it
learning I'm
won't be
taking.
accepted. It won't
Right.
be accepted
It won't
because
be
your
accepted.
your every statement has to be validated, corroborated in every
With the
manner,
evidence.
and evidence equally may not always be evidence. Sometimes you in banking you will agree that certain areas are gray areas. We
But you have to
cannot give
rationalize.
evidence.
Yeah.
We have to rationalize on that. Now, after doing all that, sanity prevailed. I'm telling you, in that credit committee, that sanity prevailed in that environment. That proposal was not accepted.
Super.
And 6 years later, in 2018, that company or that entity, which I was saying in 2012, 13, 5, 6 years later, it became one of the biggest NPAs of the country.
NPA.
The
Right.
total NPA value was 34,000 odd crore rupees.
My God.
And that time, and
You have
but the
saved that
bank that I
money.
work for, that 400 crores may look pittance in this 34,000.
Actually.
But that 400 crores for my bank probably was the most important money of that time, and it
100%.
did not go. So this is what I see in a larger extent, that I felt vindicated at that point of time, that look, whatever I was saying, the same thing. Later, I managed to get the complainant in the media and various other environment. I collaborated it, and I started thinking, when I did the investigation 5 years, market intelligence 5, 6 years ago, how perfect I was with I found all those 17, 20 pointers. I was able to pull back around 6, 7 pointers, which is still a validity, which is still valid. So this works, and that is probably one of the reasons, if you ask me, the RBI has accepted market intelligence as an effective tool
Risk control
to
unit.
understand, yes, in the risk control function or RMD function, risk management division function, for a larger understanding of your borrowers. And not just on ratios, Excel sheet, PowerPoint presentation, and all that. It won't work because
Correct.
we have transitioned into that different environment now. You know, financials, or what we talk about financial, which you also in credit, in risk and retail segment, you rely heavily upon. You see, they are just one aspect of your risk, one aspect. In spite of perfect financials, a person or an individual can defraud. There is no written rule that will say that because his documents were perfect, he can never defraud. It is not logical to say like that.
Correct.
The same thing goes here. So relying on only one or a set of documentation may not give the true picture.
Fine.
Because what are documents? Tell me honestly what we look upon. It's a historical data, a general line of direction, that this is how he was, this is how probably is. No one can predict this is how he will be.
Right. Right. So, sir, last question. What advice
Yeah.
would you like to give to, because my channel followers, the people, the corporate Saheli Honey and Tech family is like the sampler. I started this channel for my samplers. They are not even graduates. Some samplers are not even graduate. They are struggling with their finances. They're trying to complete their studies. They want to enter into the risk industry. So, last advice from you, if you want to give something, say something to samplers, the function.
The samplers are actually doing a fantastic job. Let me tell you honestly why. Their hardcore understanding of triggers is much better. I'm not joking, and I'm saying this with full
Seriously.
seriously. They are much better in preparing the triggers than me as a vice president of any organization or that. I will always rely on a good sampler's eye. See, sometimes I can also get missed. I agree with that. When I was new, I used to sit with samplers quite often. I used to go onto the shop also and do it internally when the branch premises also. I used to put a lot of time. but I learned something from them. The way they think is good. So they should not get disheartened. I certainly don't agree. I actually relied upon them for a lot, and many times the way they come up with an idea कि sir ये है तो मेरे हिसाब से ये हो सकता है. Sometimes you need to get down from that chair of yours. I'm going to be very frank with you. I have learned this from my environment and see how he is looking at it. Probably he has value over there. He
Right,
has a value over there. You need to pick it up.
right. So they are
And
the
I
backbone
always
of
used
the
to say,
RC industry. They are the
yes,
backbone of the risk industry.
they should also continue their knowledge gathering skills over a period of time. See, I'll tell you one thing. In my time, many times it was like that. Samplers were used to taken off roles and all that. I always asked many times my HR managers also, why are they taken off roles?
Hmm.
They should be taken on roll if the person is very good. He's showing promising changes. I mean, I think इनको कम्युनिकेट करने को नहीं आ रहा होगा, उनको लिखने
Hmm.
को नहीं आ रहा होगा. तो see, this is a soft skill.
Hmm.
If you are ready to take the risk on these individuals, I will force him to save some money from his salary and go and learn English properly. Or I will say, sit with him and I'll do a training on how to rewrite reports properly, how
Hmm.
to ensure that that is doable. But my intent is, if he is a very good investigator,
Hmm.
all that thing that matters for me is a good investigator.
Right.
ये जो है ना, जो आप बोल रहे हो, वो soft skill and all that, everybody, when I started, I did not have fancy soft skills. I also learned in the way the
Over a
the
period of
job
time.
taught me.
Right.
Exactly. So this is the point that I say, that whenever you are doing, I always tell them, in my samplers also, when I used to be in retail, I should tell them, okay, you are doing very good. You have a flaw. Your flaw is you are not able to write reports properly. Capitals कब use करना है, small letters कब, ये तुमको समझ नहीं आता, ये समझ लो पहले.
Hmm.
क्योंकि जब तुम्हारा रिपोर्ट मेरे पास आएगा, तो I should be able to understand what you have written quickly and respond to it quickly, so that the time and everything gets saved and your
Hmm.
efforts also gets equally recognized for writing a good report. Even today, I'm not joking. I have to teach middle management and certain upper middle management also how to write report. They can't write reports. ये
Absolutely
सब
right.
एमबीए वाले हैं, फिर भी इनको रिपोर्ट लिखना नहीं आता है. अब फोरेंसिक रिपोर्ट कैसा लिखा जाता है ये उनको नहीं पता है. आई हैव कंडक्टेड मेनी ट्रेनिंग्स फॉर दीज इंडिविजुअल्स.
Correct.
So it is not that a sampler will have a problem with report writing, it is the managers also have a problem. A
Right.
sentence, how it is perceived by me as a writer and a reader, is different from a sentence which is perceived by law enforcement or a judiciary judge in
Profession.
different.
Right.
How you will do it and how you will manage it, nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Right.
That is the difference. I said that learning is a continuous activity. You should keep on learning. Nothing stops you. There is one small thing I used to tell my juniors also. This is a suggestion. This is not a regular thing.
Huh.
Whenever you get some extra bonus or something as a job or as something as a profile
Huh.
or whatever it is,
Huh.
through once you get increment and bonus, that is how the
Hmm.
banking system works.
Function.
If at all you are able to save 10% and keep it separate, keep it. You know
Keep
why?
it. Hmm.
This will this will help you to take those important certifications that you wish to take for in the future. कभी
Future.
किसी पे डिपेंडेंट नहीं रहना पड़ेगा आपको कि सर नहीं है, वो महंगा है, ये है. थोड़ा थोड़ा
Huh.
बचा के एक ये कर लो.
You can
क्योंकि
use it to upgrade your skills.
upgrade yourself, because you are your own learner.
Hmm.
You cannot see, nobody is going to do something for you. You have to do it for
You
yourself.
have to do it for your own.
See,
Right.
when I wanted to study forensic accounting, in the time when forensic accounting was never heard in India, I'm telling you
Hmm.
of the year called as 2006 or 7.
Hmm.
2006 7, when I was the area manager for a private sector bank in retail segment,
Hmm.
I never knew what is forensic accounting. जब मैंने
Forensic.
पहली बार सुना, फिर रिसर्च किया, बोला ये तो सीखना पड़ेगा, ये फ्यूचर है, इसको सीखना अभी से पड़ेगा. आई नेवर हैड एनीथिंग इन इंडिया. इंडिया में एक भी इंस्टीट्यूशन नहीं था. टुडे
Okay.
एटलीस्ट वी हैव we have National Forensic Sciences University, Rashtriya Raksha University to teach you. But in my time, there was nobody. So somebody told me, भाई तुमको देश के बाहर ही जाके सीखना पड़ेगा. So I went to Australia to learn. भाई जहाँ ज्ञान मिलेगा वही हम जाएंगे.
Correct.
That's how it works. It was a tough time for me for those 2-3 years. I'm not saying that everybody can do it. I'm just giving you an example that wherever
right.
required, you will have to make that efforts to learn. So small changes in your life will also make you learn these big changes.
Right. So
you should not stop for finance of learning. It is my perception. Never stop learning.
Stop learning.
Because it will dent your growth in life.
It will stop your growth, right?
See, there is no silver bullet here. It
Correct.
has to happen in that fashion. That's
Right.
how.
So it was such a wonderful session. I mean, I have learned from beginning, like what are the steps I have to take, how I can deal the corporate pressure, how I can decide my department. I think it was really informative session. A last request, Nikhil sir, once I publish this video, I have like the people will some question me, if they have any question, I'll give you the list of question. Will request your response on that. Okay.
Absolutely, you're most welcome. No problem. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Nikhil sir, once again for your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you very much. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
here.
Thank you, sir. Same is.
Thank you.